We tend to think of failure as this huge, dramatic event, like a business collapsing overnight or getting fired out of the blue. But the psychological truth? It's much, much quieter than that. Failure is actually a slow burn, a process built from these tiny repeated behaviors we hardly even notice we're doing. So in this explainer, we're going to break down the 10 daily habits that are secretly rewiring your brain for mediocrity and, more importantly, how you can start rewiring it for real success.
And this right here, this is the central truth we have to get our heads around. It's not about one massive mistake. It's about the small, what seem like harmless choices you make every single day. And these choices, they don't just hold you back. We know from neuroscience that they literally change the physical structure of your brain over time.
So, let's get this perfectly straight. The myth is that failure is some kind of big explosion. Boom! But the reality is much more like a slow leak. It's this gradual pileup of ignored behaviors and destructive little habits. The good news? Once we understand this, we can actually start to patch the leak. All right, so let's start by looking inside our own heads. We'll call these the habits of thought. These are the internal mental scripts you're running on autopilot, and they often create the very cage you might feel trapped in. Do you have a lucky shirt? Or maybe a specific ritual you have to do for things to go well? Psychologists have a name for this: magical thinking. It's basically when you outsource your logic to superstition. Instead of actually looking at the evidence, you're kind of just hoping for a miracle. It's a subtle but really powerful way to avoid taking logical responsibility for what happens. And this quote just nails the danger, doesn't it? A truly intelligent mind hits pause to look at what's really going on, asking, okay, what does the data say? But a mind being rewired for failure? It just skips that whole step and crosses its fingers. It's an active choice to disengage from reality. Okay, next up is mental inflexibility. You've definitely heard this one. Maybe you've even said it. But this is how we've always done it. Look, in a world that is changing by the second, that's not a sign of stability. It's practically a death sentence. Life tends to punish those who get stuck, and rigid thinking is the anchor holding you in place while the tide rushes out. Now, what's really fascinating about herd mentality is that it often pretends to be self-expression. But think about it. If your entire identity shifts with every new trend that comes along, you aren't really expressing yourself. You're actually revealing that you're avoiding the hard work of developing a stable, independent mind of your own. This one is a classic defense mechanism. You hear a new idea, and your immediate reaction is to shut it down. That's not a sign of being smart. It's a sign of mental laziness. It's a shortcut to feeling smart without doing any of the actual heavy lifting. And all it really does is keep you trapped in a cycle of your own ignorance. Okay, so we've looked at the internal stuff. Now, let's see how these habits actually show up in the real world. These are the habits of action. The physical routines, the tangible things you do day in and day out that can absolutely wreck your potential from the outside in. In our culture, man, we wear sleep deprivation like a badge of honor, don't we? I only got 4 hours last night. But let's be crystal clear. This isn't hustle. It's self-sabotage. You are systematically destroying your brain's ability to remember things, to focus, and to make good decisions. And just how bad is it, really? Well, the science is pretty shocking. Research shows that after just one single night of not getting enough sleep, your cognitive function drops so hard that your brain operates as if you are legally drunk. Just let that sink in for a second. You would never dream of showing up to an important meeting drunk, right? Yet millions of us show up every single day with a brain functioning at that exact same impaired level, all because we treat sleep like it's a luxury instead of a biological necessity. And now for a habit that basically defines our modern world, the instant gratification trap. It's that exact moment you're faced with a tough, important task, and instead you reach for your phone. This goes all the way back to that famous Stanford marshmallow test, which proved that the ability to delay gratification is one of the biggest predictors of long-term success in life. And here's the vicious cycle it creates. Step 1, you face something hard. Step 2, you choose an easy out, a quick scroll for that little dopamine hit. Step 3, your brain actually learns to avoid effort. And the final step? You slowly kill your ability to have the long-term patience that's required for, well, any meaningful achievement. Poor listening isn't just rude, it's actually a cognitive symptom. When you're in a conversation just waiting for your turn to talk, it often means you lack the mental bandwidth to really process complex information. It's the sign of a mind that's already decided it knows everything and has totally closed itself off to learning anything new. All right, finally, let's talk about attention. In the world we live in today, your attention is your most valuable asset. Seriously, where you choose to focus it literally determines the quality of your mind and the quality of your life. So this first one is panicking at silence. If you can't be in a quiet room for even 5 minutes without reaching for a podcast or some music, you might know what I'm talking about. Intelligent minds use that quiet time, that solitude, for reflection. But a mind wired for failure is terrified of silence because it means finally having to face its own thoughts. Think about the conversations you've had recently. Were they about big, complex ideas, or was it just the weather again? If your whole social life is built on a diet of small talk, your brain is essentially being starved of stimulation. Psychologists call this a low need for cognition, basically a lack of desire for the mental heavy lifting that actually builds a sharper mind. And let's just call doom scrolling what it really is. It is not relaxation. It's a training program. You are actively training your brain to crave constant, shallow, intense little bursts of stimulation. This absolutely fries your focus and makes the deep, patient work that's required for real achievement feel physically impossible.
So after going through all of that, here is the most powerful truth of all. Your brain isn't fixed. You are not permanently stuck. You have a choice. You can keep doing these things, or you can decide, like right now, to start rewiring.
This is the choice, laid out plain and simple. You can stay on this path, repeat these habits, and just let your brain's potential degrade, or you can choose to break them. And the most incredible part? We know from neuroplasticity that the moment you choose to break a habit, the shift begins. You are always just one single decision away from building a more intelligent mind.
So I'm going to leave you with this question. Of these 10 habits we just talked about, which one hits closest to home for you? Be honest with yourself, because just identifying the leak is the very first and most important step to fixing it.